What's up, everybody? Derek Dirnberger here with the Break Podcast. Super excited about today's podcast. We got Turkey Tom Rainey from Browning Trail Cameras and the one, the only Turkey Professor, Joe Hoehn. We're talking about our recent hunts together. As Tom comes here in Missouri to hunt, Joe and I talk about some of our hunts and wrap it up with a little bit of knowledge about Browning Trail Cameras. So it's a cool podcast. Listen up. Here we go. This is Derek Dirnberger, and you're listening to the Break Podcast. All right, what's up, fellas? I'm here with Turkey Tom Rainey from Browning Trail Cameras, and his sidekick today is the famous professor, the Turkey Professor, Joe Hoehn. What's up, fellas?
Hello.
It's all you, man.
Thanks for having us, man.
So Turkey Tom, so we got to get into why you're called Turkey Tom.
I don't know if I'm called Turkey Tom.
Well, you told me that on this trip. So.
I said one person called me that.
Well, it's going to stick now. It's going to stick.
That's how it works, Tom. He just comes up with it, and then he puts it on TV, and it's there.
So you turkey hunt more than anybody I've ever met in my life. You're on, you've come here to Missouri with this for 3 years, but you hit 10 states a year or something crazy like that.
That's about right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It started a few years ago. I'll kind of go back to the beginning a little bit. When I was young, my father was really big into turkey hunting. He has killed a longbeard in the state of Tennessee for 39 consecutive years now. So he's been into it longer than a lot of people. So I would estimate I was 10 or 11 years old, and he takes me turkey hunting. We go out into the woods. We get set up. He hears a bird gobbling. He decides, we need to make a move. We go around. We set up on this log yard. And it's one of those scenarios that as it plays out now, it seems normal. But in that moment, as a 10 or 11-year-old kid, gobbler sticks his head up over the ridge. And to me, it felt like 0.2 seconds. So all I thought in that moment is, I will never kill a turkey. That thing is impossible to hunt. Because that's all I ever heard my dad say, how impossible and how hard it is to kill. So I actually really enjoy fishing. So I took several years of fishing, and I feel like I'm playing catch up now because I really didn't start digging back into the turkey hunting until probably the last decade. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like I'm making up for lost time. And that's how the trip has evolved. And as it did, I started thinking I could check off another state. So it's a long-term goal, but I would eventually like to kill turkeys in all 49 of the states that have turkeys. And I might be able to convince somebody to ship one to Alaska for me after that.
Right. So you're in the hunting industry. Mm-hmm. So, because normal people don't get a hunt for 2 months straight. Right. So you spend all your time working hard in the fall doing those things, and then...
I do, and a lot of our busy season is jammed into the first 3 months of the year. And those are 7-day weeks, 12, 14-hour days, because that's when we have to book all of our business for that calendar year. So you're meeting with your retail partners, you're establishing, what you're going to ship, when you're going to ship, what you're going to sell to each one of your partners. So this has always kind of been a little bit of a break. You can peel your hours back. And I work remotely anyway, so I can work from the road if I need to. But it gives me the opportunity, like if I'm here, if we kill out like on the first morning, then I can maybe catch up on a few emails that afternoon, make a few phone calls, then I can be on the road again, going to another camp. So I'm afforded some flexibility just because of the way that the seasonality of our business structure. It gives me a little room to be able to travel, shoot a few turkeys, and try to squeeze in 10 or 15 states a year.
Right. Yeah. But for everybody else, it's, I wish I was in the hunting industry so I could just hunt all the time.
Exactly.
Like you do.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I get that a lot, and it's like, oh man, I don't know. I have told people this story a few times this year too. I don't know how many times I was personally on the verge of an emotional breakdown on Friday nights from late fall until maybe even late in February, where I would be in my office at 11 o'clock on a Friday night, knowing that I was going to be back in the office the next morning the moment I woke up. So I'm putting in these long hours, and it's just wearing on me. And in those moments, I'd be sitting there thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm living the life."
Right.
Yeah, all you people saying, "Oh, I get to do hunt." And I'm like, you probably home in bed on Friday night, and I'm still at the stinking office.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of your travel is with the TV partners you have,
correct,
and you're also getting work done there.
Correct. That's one of the things that I've really enjoyed. As this journey of mine on the turkey tour has evolved. Is, I get to come spend some time with you guys, and I get to know y'all a little better, and we get to talk a little shop. But I'll also go visit with Don and Candy Kiske, and I'll spend some time with John and Gina Brunson. And this year I'm going to see Levi Morgan, and I'll visit with he and Samantha for a couple of days, and then I'll hunt with Brad Miller. So it's the opportunity to be able to go strengthen those relationships, talk a little shop, and it gives the partners that we work with the opportunity to ask questions about what are you guys doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good two-way street, but it also gives me a chance to kind of get after a turkey or two along the way.
Which is most important.
Yes, that's number one. Everybody, people were laughing at me. I think I was telling you this yesterday. Like, my nephew had the misfortune of missing one on opening day in Tennessee. And I was like, look, let me explain this to you. Here's death, and here's turkey hunting. You got to get these things straightened out, son, before you can handle this properly.
Right.
He's looking at me like, this idiot. I don't know what I'm dealing with here.
Uh-huh. So you've been coming to Missouri.
Yep.
To hunt here this is the third year.
Yep.
You're 3 for 3.
Yep.
And part of that, very small part, is attributed to the guy sitting to your right.
I feel like I should correct you. In very huge part. He plays no small role in any of this. And I guess that's a good segue into this, but I'll tell you, and y'all both know this, when I first came up here the first time, I probably take turkey hunting more serious than I should. Right. Well, not probably. I do take it more serious than I should. And it's difficult for me to hunt. And it's not a criticism of other people that like to go out and turkey hunt. It's just I have a hard time hunting with people that do it recreationally.
Yeah,
I really do, because I'm inexplicably and irrationally intense about it. And the first time we hunted with Joe, I look at you, this bird's gobbling, and we haven't been sitting there 5 minutes. The birds fly down. First thing Joe does is kind of fall off the back of the ridge. He's like, y'all stay here. I'm going to try to draw him over. And I look at you and I'm like, man, everybody I've ever hunted with from Missouri backs up, pulls that trick. I said, I want to go right after that bird. And it wasn't 5 seconds after I said that, Joe comes stomping up the hill. We're going right after that bird. Oh, yes, I can hunt with this guy. Yeah. And then along the way, the bird's still gobbling like he misplaces his striker. He's having a fit at the bottom of the hill. And I'm like, oh, yes, angry. Yes. Let's kill the turkey. Yes. I told you repeatedly after that, I can hunt with him.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Yeah. Right. So the professor, a lot of people wonder, how did Joe get that name? So I can give you a little story. So we started on the break you joined about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We're in season 5. You joined first year. And Joe and I never hunted together.
No.
And I was complaining, I never really hunted turkeys that much because they're just not on our farm.
Right.
The farm that I grew up on. So Joe, most of my turkey hunting, I'd be out there, but I'm deer hunting. I'm scouting deer, really. I'll call a little bit, and, I wouldn't hear a gobble because there's no turkeys where I'm at. But so Joe invited me to hunt up with you. And again, so Joe's really the first experienced turkey hunter that I've ever hunted with. So we go to this place, and he's telling us we're going to set up here. They're roosted right there. When they do this, you need to do this. When they do this, I'll do this. And I'm just thinking, I was like, hey, he's like a college professor. He's telling me all these things. And then it all started happening as he said it was going to play out. So we get done, and we do an episode on Joe and I's hunt. And I just said, he's the turkey professor.
And it stuck.
So you're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I turned you into
Thanks.
A rural legend, an urban legend.
Let's just say I was working when that episode aired, and of course, I wasn't informed of this. So all of a sudden, I start getting these text messages whenever I turn my phone off, or turn it back on, and everyone's like, "The professor now, huh?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So then I had to think a little bit, but it didn't take me long, and got to watch the episode, and I was like, payback's a bitch. No, but it's stuck, and in all reality, you're right. I mean, that's what I go into every spring, and I put a ton of time in early. I scout, I run my Browning trail cameras, and find these birds, and my goal is I want to kill the maturest bird I can. It's nothing different than anyone else chasing whitetails. Whenever I go into a spring, I want to look at all the farms I have. I want to see my turkey population, which farms I don't want to really hit too hard, which ones need a few taken off. But in all reality, I'm looking for that number one bird. And, of course, who gets it this year but Derek. But that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. I'll give him one every so often. I'll let him have a bigger bird.
Right. Well,
he is the chief hunter.
That's right.
You got. Right. It's like here.
He owed me that one. Let's talk about the one you shot from under me last year.
Well, and that was for Tom. That was Tom's bird. Yeah. Okay, so Tom gets up here last year. The first year, like he said, he smacks it at like 15 yards in the face, pretty wound up, and that took a whole lot of 25 minutes, and we were done
total. So that includes the walk in and out.
Yeah. And I started him out right. I ain't going to lie. I mean, it was, we're going to go set this ridge, and the bird's going to be behind us. And, I was a little off. He was one ridge over. But we got it done. And
that was a cool. Well, let's talk about that hunt first, because you talked about him backing up. Then we went after him.
Yes.
Right.
And, you knew the land. Let's talk about that hunt and the land and how you scout.
Right. So just scouting turkeys with, your cameras and just finding them isn't. The overall goal is to know your properties. You need to know that, all right, the turkeys like to roost in this area. They like to feed in this area. And in relation to what the terrain is, what your crops are, if it's pasture field, if it's hay fields, if it's wheat fields or rye. Some of those later in the season are going to be obsolete. Those are where they're going to actually nest, not in the breeding portion. The gobblers don't want to be in there. The feathers are getting... there's nowhere for them to actually strut. So dialing that back, once you find those roost areas and the areas where they want to congregate and want to do their breeding, then I look at terrain features. All right, how am I going to get in on these birds in the morning without getting seen, not making a whole lot of noise, but get tight enough to them to where when they fly down and they congregate with their hens, I'm in their path of where they want to go. It's going to tremendously up your odds. And you can go hunt, turkeys just like you can. You hear the same story every spring where guys are like, I go sit the same ridge every year and I kill a big buck. You can do that with turkeys too if you have the right farm. But when I go out every day that I have to take off work and go, which is hard in where our actual real jobs, so when I have to actually take off and go, I'm shooting them in the face every day. I don't go out there just to hunt. I want to slap them in the face. Mm-hmm. So I try to up my odds as much as I can, and I want to figure the birds out because I get enjoyment out of getting there early in the morning, set up where I want to, be the first hoot owl to hoot, and I want him to gobble right on the next ridge,
I'm laughing because I'm like, yes, he does like to get there early.
Yeah.
yes, he does. Yeah. I will verify this for him.
There's no walking in when the gobblers are already gobbling in the tree. If you're not set up, he's going to see you, and that's where it dials back. Other than yesterday, we did have a situation where we got set up and the birds weren't where I thought they were. They had gotten bumped out. Later, figured this out from the neighbors the night before. The birds had been in there for 2 weeks straight. I thought it was a slam dunk. We get set up, nothing gobbled. They weren't in there. It does happen. But 9 times out of 10, when guys say, I went out there, didn't hear any gobbling today, no birds on the farm, you need to ask them more questions than just, you went out there. Well, what time? If you're walking in the woods, strolling around, trying to get set up, and it's any bit light, them birds are awake and they see you.
Yeah.
It's like a whitetail when you hear them go, and they're snorting at you. That turkey's up there laughing at you is what he's doing because he might even gobble once or twice, but he ain't flying down to you. He's going the other ridge over. But that's what I get enjoyment. I like to actually pattern them, figure them out, find them, and then try to get in there and kill that big bird. Mm-hmm. The biggest one I can find.
Handing out faces full of fives.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that. So getting back to the story with Tom's bird. So last year we had him come in and had a bird picked out for him, and it's like a monsoon. It was raining for days. The whole time he was supposed to be here, it was supposed to rain the whole time, you know. So we didn't even get up that morning. I think it was like total thunderstorm, just pouring down. We knew we were going to get that.
Yeah, we left at 9:30 or 10.
That's right.
Yeah, sat for the last couple hours.
And it's not like you can't kill turkeys. Obviously, I mean, this year we killed 2 of them at 10. So I mean, it happens. But it's like I said, my rule of thumb is I want to be out there and watch the sun come up. And so we was already down, went out and sat for a little bit. The bird never came in, of course. Didn't think it was going to, but you had to go out. You know, we had to try. So the next night, didn't kill that bird, so we went to a different farm. We actually seen a bird go up, fly to roost, so we kind of knew where he was set up. Get a little break in the weather, the sun's coming up. Oh, we got plenty of time. It's cloudy that morning. Yeah, Tom's eating his donut. We're drinking coffee. I look out, and the sun's coming up, and I'm going, guys, we got to go. I was like, I know it's just right down the ridge, but we got to get out there, you know. So I'm hustling these 2 boys around. I'm like, let's go. Come on, boys, you know. My fast feet. So I'm over there. We get to where I want to set up, and there's like a pond. From all this rain, there's a pond out here, and I'm going, Derek, how do we get over here? You know, he's like, just go around it. I'm like, it's too light. You can't go around it. You know, I'm freaking out. So what do? I listen to D. You know, all right, we'll go around here. I'm stomping through the water. I'm already mad.
Right.
You know, I'm thinking the birds are going to be right here. You know, we're going to bump them.
Yeah, well, you stomped trying to prove a point. You want to blow them out of there.
Hey.
I think he's underplaying this. I stomped through the water.
Right.
He looked like a 12-year-old that, had just gotten yelled at by his mom. And he's trying to kick it head high when he's taking each step. Like,
I'm going to get it on you. I'm going to get a little on you. So we get in there. We set up, everybody I calmed down. They get settled. And set the decoys.
I'm still eating donuts.
Yeah. Tom's still eating donuts, cleaning it off his face, and all of a sudden, I hoot and right on top of us, and I just look at D and I go, "It's over. It's over. He's seen us. He's right there. He's over. He sees us. It ain't gonna happen." But no, there were some hens with him, and then got him. He was fired up from them other hens too. Did the fly down. Well, then we had a bird across the ridge or across the field in the creek respond, and he ended up beating him to the punch. So those birds all flew down, and then Tom gets him. Lucky Tom, he gets another one.
That was nice.
But it was nice because we got all that done. Got back, and we're carrying the bird back to the cabin where we were staying, and of course it just starts pouring down rain. So we had about a 30-minute window of no rain for 2 days. We got her done, so it's pretty cool.
And I have to confess, like, as he's telling these stories, like every year, and that's why I like hunting with him, because he's so intense about it. Like that year he got mad and stomps off, and when he drops his striker, he's having the meltdown in the woods, and the turkey, when he's having the meltdown over the striker, that turkey couldn't have been 150 yards, and you and I are looking at each other, and that bird's like gobbling right over the hill, and he's like, "Where's my striker?"
That's my favorite one now. Come on.
I think that's immediately when I was like, I can hunt with that guy right there. And then like the fit in the field yesterday, or last year as we call it, where you and I are laughing when we're walking across the field, because you were like, we'll just walk around the water. We're going to do what? Splash, 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 splash.
I ain't doing that.
And then this year when we got down there and the neighbors had blown the birds off the roost and they weren't there, he was mad all morning about that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is why I like hunting with him, because I take it that serious too, and I want to shoot them in the face.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about this.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of like anybody, and it's not that I'm really mad at like the neighbors for doing what they do. They just don't know.
Right.
They're the guy I was talking about. Just goes out there, sits on that ridge, walks out there after daylight, and just listens.
Yeah.
But going back to the whole professor thing of Derek, I'm getting into. I want to pattern them. I want to know where they're at. I know where they're hanging out. My wife lets me go and do all this. I love you. She lets me go early, and I scout these birds, not necessarily in the mornings. If I know where they're roosting, I want to see where they're at 9 o'clock. Where are they going? Where are they taking these hens? Where, especially a year like this year where it's super cold and they're still theoretically in their winter flocks. They're surviving. They're still trying to find food. So it's starting to green up now, and they're breaking up slightly. But that's how these birds were. They should have been in that. There was 3 toms in that group, and they were hanging out with about 7 or 8 hens, and they weren't going to go anywhere because that's where the hens wanted to be. That's where they were feeding, is in a stubble kind of hayfield that we got with some wheat stubble in it, and they were loving it. That was their home. But it happens, you're going to have those mornings, and what do? You just pack up. Mm-hmm. You go somewhere else and you make it happen, right? I mean,
exactly.
I walk Tom, and that's a funny story in itself. We're walking, get to this other farm, walking through the dark timber. I always get back to that, but it's a brushy area, And I'm checking a few spots, hooting, crow calling, whatnot. And I just happened to drop my fan out of my hand, and I go to pick it up, and there's like a 3 foot, maybe 2.5 foot snake there, little garden snake or something, and I jumped like a freaking schoolgirl. I'm like, ah! They're like, what? I'm like, look at my fan. And they're like, oh, it's a snake. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't see it, I freaked out. So I was already on edge, a little fired up, and I'm glassing, ain't seeing nothing, but we made it happen, man. It is awesome.
I'm just glad you weren't armed when you looked down and saw it.
We'd have lost a few 3.5-inch shells right there, I guarantee it.
And since we only had 3 on that particular hike, that would have been an issue.
Yeah, thank God we didn't waste the shell. We needed it later. Right?
That is a 100% fact.
Yeah.
Because when I told y'all, I was like, I don't have any more shells. the look on both your faces was like, what is he, an idiot?
Yeah.
But I had already told Derek at the truck, I was like, wait a minute, I think I just heard him say we're about to walk miles.
Yep.
I'm taking everything off. So I left my vest in the truck. I was like, I'm going boots, guns, face mask. That's all I'm going.
Yep.
Yeah. So you let the cat out of the bag. We killed one.
Yes,
you
we
shot.
did. Yes.
And it was rough yesterday. No gobbling whatsoever.
No.
It's been tough. We talked about it. I went to Iowa first before I came down, and wind chill was 9 degrees this past Monday in Iowa. The birds are still in winter flocks, 20, 30 birds, and lots of places up there they're not gobbling. They're just walking around and eating. And so the behavior patterns are similar right now here. You're not getting a lot of vocalization. I mean, you're not even getting hens yelping. I mean, you might get the occasional cluck if you're lucky to at least put you on the right path. But so it's been tough, and yesterday was a challenging hunt, to say the least.
Well, it's challenging to stay motivated, and
right.
When you go out there and you don't hear them, it's kind of a letdown. It's like, man, it's time. It's time. I want to see them. I want to have them work in. I want them gobbling.
Right.
And it happens that way, but you can still kill them the way we did.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. The final product of it is a slap in the face.
Yes.
And that's what I'm after. So it's
and the wing.
If it doesn't work.
And any other body part willing to take a shot.
If it doesn't work off the roost, like a lot of times it doesn't, and it doesn't work at the old 9 o'clock spot, then you go to your 10:30 spot, 11, 12. I mean, 1 o'clock's when it's over. That's when you quit, and that's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, and that's one of the reasons that I like hunting with Joe is because I'm convinced to some degree you've got to have that intensity to be successful on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Because of days like yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
if you can't dig deep inside and be like really intense about I want to have a successful hunt. And like I said, I'm not being critical of people that want to go enjoy the morning, have a good sit, call a little if it doesn't work out, if they want to go home. I want to close the deal.
Uh-huh.
And that's how Joe is. Joe is so I'm able to keep my intensity level throughout the hunt on a day like yesterday. And he is too. So I really like being able to hunt with people like that. And so I think it helps us be successful when we hunt together.
You feed on each other.
Yes.
If one guy's not in on it, and you're like, well, let's go eat breakfast, I guess.
Exactly.
And the game's over, and that's fine. Like I said, it's all on what you get enjoyment out of hunting. It's either the killing aspect or just going out and spending time with friends, or everybody has their own thing.
Right.
But we see eye to eye.
Yes, very much so. Because even not to get too far ahead of the story here, but as we were having to move around, like after you saw the snake, we're still trying to find the turkeys. We got to make a visual contact at this point because they're not making any sound. So you've got to make eye contact with them almost. And if you're not intense, like as you're walking around the edges of those fields, as you're walking through those creeks, you're splashing, you're kicking, you're crunching leaves,
Yep,
you're stepping
you're
on
talking, you're
talking.
coughing. Yeah, you're not on point of what you're doing.
Yeah, so if you are still like focused on the task at hand, like we want a successful hunt, then you're able to like still step on the dirt, looking for that empty spot so you're not breaking sticks. And so I think that, how intense you are about it matters. And again, I'm irrational about it. I understand that.
Right.
I get it.
Well, it boils down to, just how we killed those birds and walked up on them. If you don't do your preseason scouting and know the terrain features and how to, all right, in this situation, how would I get around on a bird? It worked to our advantage. I knew that we could sneak along the edge of this field who the whole farm is nothing but ridge tops, and so you can sneak along the edge and just glass up and get the angle on the birds. So we creeping around a corner and actually, you still have to get lucky. Their heads were down feeding.
Right.
If they're not, it's hard to see a single head,
right.
but it's a lot easier to see their breast or their back, in the sunlight. And we got lucky, man. That's what it's all about. Got lucky and seen the birds, and then did the old trickster on them and
Had the fans.
Fans out, and me and Tom are behind one fan. How that worked, I don't know.
He was like,
it was a big bird. Yeah. It was a big bird, right? It was a big bird fan.
That gobbler was like, that is one heck of a bird. It's bottom of that hill.
That's a monster, as everybody says, Yeah, but no, we got lucky. The birds were there. They were feeding towards us, so we didn't even do anything. Honestly, set up behind the fans and just let them come to us. Fed over, and Tom emptied his gun out on it, and we got it.
That is a true story, ladies and gentlemen. There was not a shell left in that field by the time I got done.
Hey, but when it all boils down to, it was an ethical shot and everything. It was a little bit further than what we thought. It didn't take him down as good, but hey, that's why you go after him. You find him. And we still got it.
Yeah.
So that's all that matters.
It was one of those things where there was like no background on the shot.
It was hard to judge. It was really hard to judge.
Really weren't off 10 yards on what we were kind of estimating, but it was just enough that as the shot was traveling and I'm shooting up, it just got down a little lower and didn't wreck his beak like I want it to.
Yeah.
And you can tell when you hit a bird, if you hunt enough, you hit him. At that point, I knew I hit him, so you feel compelled, and it's the ethical thing to do after you have hit the bird.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
To try and finish him off.
And
so that's kind of, how that shook out, and it worked out well for us. Fortunately, Joe was the one willing to walk in the bush and get him.
Yeah, that's all right. These legs are made for walking them hills. Them old river hills, man.
Ooh, man, it is hilly there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. And then to find it, it was icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Finding a bird that it's been wounded, they'll go hide. That's what he had done. He tucked under a rock and was burying his head in his feathers. But what it all boils down to is we found it, and it's a dead bird, man.
Yep.
Another notch, right?
Exactly. No tag soup in Missouri this year.
Or never has since
No. 3 for 3.
Nice run here.
I made him hunt till 10 o'clock this year. I know I'm not on par.
We were trying to bring the average up, because people wouldn't believe us. Like our average for the last 2 years was 7 minutes. How long did you sit? Well, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes, Your Honor. We sat still for 3 minutes.
Oh, man. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was good.
That was our hunt this year, man. It was an awesome hunt. The experiences we've had, this great friendship. I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad you keep coming back, man.
I enjoy it up here. It's good people. It's like we got to visit with some of your relatives that I've met before yesterday, and I enjoy doing that, especially after a successful hunt.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like the first pretty day that I have seen in weeks, I feel like. And because I even got the opportunity to hunt California this year. It never rains in California.
And it did.
And I get out there and it rained the whole time I was there.
Oh, man.
And so I have been just living into like terrible weather. So have a successful hunt, cook out, sit around the porch, sitting out in the sun, enjoy the afternoon. I kind of enjoy being able to do things like that. And it was a great trip.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like crappie, a fire, and a cold beer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that made... So your Missouri bird was number 11 on the year already.
Well, that is correct.
Uh-huh.
I'm fortunate. I know I am. just so people don't think I'm a crazy person. Well, no, I am a crazy person. But the way that I got to 11 is we are fortunate. We get to film an episode with John and Gina every year. So we kick off, and I say we, I'm talking about Brent Feathers, who's our vice president of sales. Mm-hmm. We have the opportunity. We go film what they call one of their Florida episods. They like to showcase their home state and show people you can hunt and fish in Florida.
Yeah, and that's Addicted to the Outdoors.
Yep, Addicted to the Outdoors. Yeah. It's a great show. And I'm speaking specifically about that Florida show they do every year because they bring us down and show me things I never knew about Florida. And then this year, so we got to do we had the opportunity to do a little sheep's head gigging, gigging for fish.
Oh, really?
Right there in the bay, like airboat, 18 inches of water. It was pretty neat. And then we do our turkey hunt. So we were successful there. I was able to kill my 2 birds in Florida. Come home, I kill one in my home state on our property in Tennessee. So that was 3. And Brad Miller, who has become a good friend of mine, has been on me for years because he knows I'm trying to kill one in all 49 states. And he's like, I've got a place we can go in California. So I go out there, and we're fortunate enough to kill 2 out there. So that puts me at 5. And the bad thing is, it's like there's people like all over that are still. I felt like a horribly rude, terrible person because I see all these people posting on like social media how, I can't wait till my season starts. And I'm like, I've already killed 5. And I'm feeling done like that. I probably just don't want to tell anybody this. And so Brent and I meet up in Texas after I leave there. And that's probably the craziest hunt I've ever been on in the sense that I have never hit birds that perfect. Like anytime, anywhere. We had, in 24 hours, we had 8 setups and we had killed all 8 of our birds. Like we've done. And I was like, that's just crazy. So that took me to 9, like really quick.
Yep.
And then I went to Donna Candy's before I came here, so I killed my Iowa bird and came down here and killed this one. And now I've got, like I was saying earlier, I've got a few more stops. I'm going to go meet Brad again in Indiana. And the neat thing about hunting at Brad's is we can hunt 3 states out of his cabin. Yeah. So I can do Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and then I'll go see Levi. Try to kill one in Pennsylvania. That trip doesn't have a lot of time, but if things work out, I might have an opportunity to go to West Virginia, maybe.
Yep.
But I'll definitely have time to try to kill one opening weekend in Pennsylvania. And then I'll come home after that for a couple of days, and my last hunt of the year, I'm actually going to Maine.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah. You were up there last year, too, weren't you?
I did upstate New York last year.
Upstate New York, okay.
And so it was crazy because I had, when you hear New York, like you don't think, oh, man, they got a lot of turkeys.
Right.
So Jameson Crast does a lot of production work in the industry, and he's working on Levi's show. So I had met him through Levi Morgan, and he had been on me about, you got to come up there. We got turkeys everywhere. And I'm like, whatever. There are no turkeys in New York. So I go to upstate New York, and the place we hunted, I could be wrong about this, but I want to say I'm almost sure he said it was 20 minutes from the Canadian border. I mean, it's like way north.
Really?
And I'm not exaggerating. There were turkeys in like every field that we drove past. And I'm like, this is insane. And so he was able to stop and get permission. So I killed my New York bird last year. So I was kind of close to being up there last year. And I'm looking forward to doing Maine this year. I actually have a friend that I went to college with that has hunted with this same guide in Maine. And he said he's a neat guy and that they were able to tag out while they were up there. So I'm hoping it kind of works out for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a magic number you're trying to get to.
Yes.
Which you're not trying to get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself.
One state at a time, but...
I knew I shouldn't have told you that. You're dragging it out here.
I'm bringing it out.
Bringing it out. Everybody wants to know, did he succeed?
Yeah, I'm going to jinx myself right now. Like, I won't shoot another turkey the rest of the year when I bring this up. Like, I'm done. Thank you so much. I'm not going to kill another turkey the rest of the year. But for some reason, I just thought it was a neat number. If I'm fortunate enough to kill 3 more this year, I've got 5 more opportunities.
Yep.
Then that would, if I take 16, 17, 18, that would give me 40 birds over that
3-year period.
Yeah, over 3 years.
3 seasons.
Yeah. In 16, I don't know that I consciously do it. I think it just kind of happens naturally. But as I get into each season, I give myself these arbitrary goals that just kind of pop up. But I think they help keep me motivated over the long haul. I want to say it was 4 or 5 years ago, probably 4, I believe. I should remember off the top of my head, but I don't. But I wanted to kill a U.S. slam just the Grand Slam in 30 days.
Yeah.
And that story is a little funny in itself, because that was when I had to tell John Brunson, like, I'm not leaving Florida until I kill this Osceola. And so I was down there like a week. It was like horrible. I'm surprised he didn't like have me arrested and thrown out. So that year it was like, all right, I want to kill the Slam in 30 days. And then the next year I wanted to kill birds in 10 states in one season. So that was 16. And so I killed 11 birds that year. And I learned a lot. Actually, there's so much you learn when you challenge yourself like that, because you're going to new locations. You don't know the land that well. Here I'm fortunate that you guys like put in the work and are able to like help me get it done, be successful. There's a lot of places I go where, like Levi or even Don and Candy, where they'll take me and they'll be like, all right, here's the property. See you at dinner.
Yeah. Just call when you're done.
And so I kind of have to figure it out on my own, and I actually like that. I don't want the outfit or everything. I want to challenge myself, where the birds roosting. And when you do that, like over a 2 or 3 day window, it can be a wreck. I mean, you get up there and you're having to analyze and do everything in these real tight confines of time. And so that year that I killed 11, I think I made a mess of things, because I started to rush. I was trying to squeeze too much into different windows of time, but I was able to do it. But I went into last year. I didn't hunt as many days last year, but I learned, all right, you got to take a break. You need to sleep in. You just need to get rest, be on your game, because it's hard to stay intense all day when you're tired.
Right.
Because all you can think about at 8:30 is, I need to nap.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to nap.
That 3:30 ring alarm is getting awful tiring.
So I learned last year, and I took more time to rest, but I still made all the trips. So I was I say only, but I was only in the woods 16 days last year.
Oh, really?
And I killed 15 turkeys.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, it's a pretty good average.
And I'm starting to see that same approach has worked for me this year. Like I haven't counted in my head, so I might be off a day or two right now, but I've killed 11 turkeys, and because of Texas, when you mow 4 down in one day, that kind of shortens, but I want to say I've only hunted 9 days, 9 or 10 days, and I have 11 turkeys.
Yeah.
So I think, the strategy, and, I'm not trying to dole out advice here, because I can get around to this later, but I think there's only one piece of advice that matters when you're turkey hunting. But in this instance, I think getting your rest does help.
Yeah.
I think you keep pushing it, and it's helped me. Like, I get less stress about work. I'll take a day and, I'll actually work. I'll just be on the road and do it from like somebody's cabin or a hotel room. And so I don't get as worried about work. I think eliminating the distractions, getting rested actually allows me to have more effective hunts.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the one piece of advice I would give people, because you hear people like, well, you need to set up and you need to do this and you need to call this. And Joe's advice is great. Let's get out there and do the homework. Like, know everything you can. But when it comes down to it and you're in the field and you're in the hunt, the only one that matters is kill him when you can kill him.
That's right.
Don't let him get away. If he's in range, he needs to die.
Yes. When you can, because you can have all of because turkeys are so neurotic.
Oh yeah.
They're not going to do this. You could have the exact same scenario 10 days in a row, same bird even. He's not going to do the same thing. He's going to do a different thing. 10 days in a row, he's going to do a different thing.
Uh-huh.
And there's instances where you can pattern one and he'll do the exact, he'll come into the decoy and do exactly what you expect him to do. But they're neurotic. They're crazy.
Right.
I tell people they're not that smart. They just have the best instincts, the best survival skills. Because it's weird sometimes, throw the head up and it's like, what in the world spooked that guy?
Yeah.
But he didn't like something and he's like, gone. So the only advice I ever give out for turkey hunting, people are like, well, tell me how to do this. Tell me that. I'm like, kill him when you can kill him.
Right.
That's the only thing that matters.
Uh-huh. And that goes, what you're saying there goes to our first hunt this year on opening day.
Yeah. We
had that 4 gobblers on all four sides of us.
Yeah. Just got in the middle of them, man. I knew knowing the terrain features, I knew where they were actually roosted, and I knew how to get in really tight on them. But essentially, we got right in the middle of them. So when we got in there and got set up in the middle of them, we're getting in quiet, not calling. We was in there getting in quiet with crow calls and got in tight on them, set up. Thought we had a good setup. I mean, we were just off the ridge.
Yeah.
But the angle of the terrain, we had to get off. Essentially, we were looking uphill at the decoys, and there was a small dip that you're setting up low light. You just didn't know. But when that first bird came in, he was just in that dip, and all we'd catch was his head and his fan back and forth.
Right.
Forever, and he just wouldn't commit. He was...
that possibly could have killed him.
I could have shot. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, and I was milking it for a little bit of better footage, and I thought he'd eventually work in, but knowing now, the other bird, the bigger bird that was probably beating him up, as he got closer, that bird got nervous and worked off.
Yeah.
He kind of left, and then the bigger bird come in. I got him anyhow. That's what I wanted. Hey, and on this instant, I did offer to Derek. I said, he's coming from behind us on the left. I said, now, this is your opportunity. You can take him, all video, because he couldn't see at that point. The video, had the camera was turned, and I was like, you just pick up your gun, you can kill it all video, trying to pay him back for last year, because that's a whole nother... No, we won't get into that.
We didn't finish that story. We were starting the last year thing. Okay, so last year.
All right.
We're hunting the farm that we're trying to get Tom this bird, a giant bird.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so...
This is where I killed yesterday, correct?
No,
Same farm.
Yeah,
okay,
Same farm. Out of that tower blind that we walked past.
Yeah.
So, we're... Joe's got a bird scouted out, and he's got him ready for Tom. It's got Tom's name on it, but the bad storm couldn't get in there.
Yeah,
and then we saw the bird at where we were staying at the cabin on my brother and sister-in-law's place. We ended up killing that one. So Joe and I go back to hunt your bird, and Joe says, "Hey, you're not going to be able to hunt much the rest of the year. You kill." I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was like, are you sure? He's like, oh, yeah, you kill.
Yeah.
You kill.
I already see where this is headed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're setting up, nice and
This
cozy.
is where he throws me under the bus.
Right.
Setting
He's
up,
firing up the engine.
nice and cozy, and with the cameras right in between us.
Were y'all under that tower stand?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like a 3-sided building.
I was going to say that, and they had the hay under it last year. You could lay down, take a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Stay there all day.
Hey, I know where to go, man.
I like it.
Yeah.
Get bored, take a nap.
3-sided, so you can only see out of one side. And we got the decoys in front of us, and this bird didn't gobble at all.
Did not gobble. No. He was a very mature bird, and it was, second week probably then?
It was the second week.
Second week, so he's heard...
Or third week. It was the last week.
It was, it was.
The third week, because you were guiding.
Guiding up north, yeah.
The second week.
So, I mean, it was, this bird's done heard everybody call to him, and he wasn't going to let us know he was there. And, do you want to tell the story?
So,
I think Derek's is funnier than mine because I won't tell it really how it is probably.
So Derek's over there like revving the engine on the bus.
He's like, I want this one. I was like, okay, all right, I'll let detail it.
So we're sitting there, and I hear it about the same time you do. We hear something coming through the wheat because the wheat's probably 10 inches high, roughly. We hear something coming through the wheat, and we hear some drumming. Right? And Joe's like, oh, he's coming. And I start to reach for my gun, and Joe, I see him out of the corner of my eye. He's got his gun shoulder. He's like, are you sure you don't want to shoot? I was like, okay, I'll video.
Hey, I'm sorry. When that bird's beard come flopping right beside me on that old blind, I said, you got him? No? All right.
Yeah, click. No, it wasn't you got him. He says, you sure you don't want to shoot? I thought I agreed that I'd shoot first earlier, but
no, you're the cameraman.
Don't worry about it.
You're the cameraman.
So so you see the hunter cam in the, the hunter cam, the little GoPro shining back on us, and I just picked up my gun. I'm holding my gun in one hand, and I'm holding the camera in the other. Like, okay, shoot him. And then he's 1.5 inch spurs or something crazy like that.
Yeah, he was a good bird.
Giant bird.
Look, you should subscribe to the same theory that Joe and I do. Kill him when you can kill him.
Well, I was about to kill him,
man.
Yeah,
fastest one. That thing was unholstered the minute I heard him drumming. It was up and ready. You got him? No.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
but this year I did. I let him.
He was
the bird was coming in from behind it. He had circled and was coming in and gobbling, and I could see him finally coming through the timber. And I was like, dude, he's all the way on your left. You can't see the camera. I got it. So I reach over and I'm working the camera, and he's coming up. And I mean, he was in range, I think, or
there's
right
just too
at
much
it.
brush.
There was just too much. It was really thick, and he was actually walking a logging road and come up around, and then it was on my angle, and Derek had to take over camera. Thank goodness, and because it was another good bird. But he comes in and I let him take those other 5 steps and get up out of that dip, and I was like, it's game over because I didn't want 2 birds opening one to get away.
We could have. He probably would have come to that decoy.
He would have. He was
But
a mature
again,
bird.
not
but
taking
you don't
a chance.
know.
Kill him when you can.
Kill him when you can kill him.
Because you don't know. I mean, it's just like the first bird. It was a mature bird. I mean, I think that bird was probably 3. The first one, it's just when he locked up, when he seen the Jake decoy, he just locked up.
Wait a minute. Who killed the first bird on opening day? I know y'all both killed.
He did.
I did. So I killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I said I let him have a chance, but
Have you learned nothing, Derek?
No. Well, I said going in that you're first on the gun because I just killed in Illinois, so I've got
That's
one
right.
down.
He did get me up this year. He killed in Illinois. Had a tag for Illinois, so.
Yeah.
He was going to let me shoot. I just, I was being the nice guy because he couldn't video. And I was like, well, he's on your side. I'll let you shoot him, And it worked out. He come around and I had to take him. But he was another good bird, man. That's a 25.5 pounder. I mean, what was it, inch and
a quarter, inch and 3/8. One of,
Big bird, man. Just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, real good bird. And then we went to, so then we had 3 other birds after you killed that one. And they pretty much shut up not too long after you killed him.
Yep. Yeah,
we got one to shot gobble
with
that crow call right over the ridge, but I think he probably busted us.
Yeah, I think it was more of it was a shock. We surprised him. We were too close when we called, and he knew something wasn't up.
Yeah.
And kind of boogered out of there. But you're going to have that. I mean, we were just literally trying to get back to the truck and strike one. I already had in my head where we were going to go because it was getting really, really windy and it's cold and nasty. And I had found the biggest bird I was after that I wanted to kill this year. It was going to be a tough bird because of the terrain features where it was at and the crop fields around it. There was rye or wheat that was planted really early. So the normal area where these birds would strut on a normal year, they weren't even in it. I mean, the neighbor, the guy who owns the ground, he wasn't even seeing the birds because of the fact that they just literally can't strut in it.
Right.
So luckily I had permission to hunt the farm behind it, and I went in there a week before season on a really windy day to check my Browning cameras and find him, see if he was on that side. And he just happened to be breeding a hen and gobbling down off the hillside, and I spotted him. I was like, you just screwed up. Because
that's where you go back to saying, you want to know, you don't necessarily want to scout in the mornings where they are, because you want to find that spot that if you don't kill off the roost, or if you got a couple guys like we were hunting, if you do kill off the roost, now we got to go find that 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock strut zone.
Those are the hard birds, because if you just go walk into a woods and try to strike a bird, it does happen. I mean, it will. And the longer in the year or season you go, they won't have as many hens to breed. But knowing that you need to get in there and get in quiet and get set up and then start calling to him is going to help your odds, Because it was 30-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, literally, the fan wouldn't even stay in the ground. It was just wanting to blow over.
So let's talk about that setup. In a little bottom.
Yep.
Big, steep hill, ridge, cliff, whatever you want to call it, across the tiny little creek. We hopped up in that. You stuck your Jake decoy out there, your hen decoy, a feeding hen, and you just stuck the fan in the ground.
I just stuck the fan out there because on a windy day, I like to stick a fan out. A lot of guys used them. I mean, I've used them for a very long time. That was a trick that, the guy who taught me how to hunt, he taught me that, and another gentleman from Louisiana that come up, and it was another family kind of thing that I grew up hunting with, and he taught me everything, deer hunting, turkey hunting. I mean, everything come from him. I grew up on a dairy farm, so there was no hunting. I learned a little bit later, 14, 15 years old. That's when he started taking me under his wing and showing me what to do and how to kill them. It's not about being the best caller in the world. I mean, I've gotten better over the years, but that's not what I'm after. I want to know what to say, when to say it, and how to get in on them and kill them and do the scouting part of it. And it's kind of got to where that's what I get into is the scouting, finding that little bitty flat that, it's tucked up in the timber that talking about this spot, and it's got pasture, but it's uphill pasture. So when it's super windy, he's going to get in that little bitty that little bitty flat out of the wind, but he can still, it's like you or me. Do we want to go stand up on top of that hill and just get blown and beat to death? Or are we going to go down there and do the same thing we're going to do up there, but you're out of the wind? It's, the path of less,
yeah. So we get set up, and, I'm comfortable. I'm ready to sit there all day, and Joe says, you know what, we're not going to see anything. I'm not feeling it.
This is not what Joe said. No, this is not what he said. We're set up here, and I take my old box call out that, it's killed a lot of big birds. And on those days, I want something high-pitched, real loud, screechy, and I'm just hitting that thing. Just, as hard as I could, I'm hitting that box call. Because it's so windy, he can't hear it, I'm thinking. And we watch the footage back of my kill. We're just kind of chilling. I get the coffee out. I'm drinking a cup of coffee out of the thermos, chilling. Watch her hunt, put the thing away, hit the call again, and Derek's looking at me, and all of a sudden I see his eyes get like softballs. And literally he goes, there he is, there he comes, there he comes. And I'm like, what? And I turn my head, and I see that paintbrush just bouncing on that old sucker. I'm like, oh boy. So I look down, and I'm like, how do you even turn this camera on? It's a different camera than I got, so I'm trying to turn the camera on. He's getting on the bird, and I end up, screeching something out of my mouth, to get him to turn his head and look back. But that sucker come in and tried to tackle the decoy. And
he jumped over the fan. He
jumped
running
over
for the
it.
fan. He jumped over the fan. Then saw there wasn't a body attached to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And he jumped away, and then he saw the Jake decoy, ran to it.
Yeah, it's like he was going to body slam that sucker. He come in and tried to breast bump that thing.
And then I think the wind was blowing so hard it spun it or something. And then that's about the time you got the camera on.
That's about the time I got the camera on him, and he's kind of working away. I made a screech, whatever, and I could tell that there was some brush right in front of us because literally we're sitting on a hillside just shooting straight out at him. And I'm like, I bet Derek can't even shoot. I got a good angle, but he was just behind that brush, and luckily he took about 2 more steps, and it was game over. But I had already known in my head which bird it was, and I was so jacked because I was like, I can't believe. It happened so fast, but knowing that you killed that bird that you came in there after, it was such and on the weather conditions it happened, I was just ecstatic. I was grinning ear to ear, and of course, you love killing a big bird, but.
Well, this is my big, 26 pounds, 12-inch horsetail of a beard.
Crazy.
Literally. That's what somebody said. One of the guys saw the Facebook picture of it. I put it on the team page, and I can't remember who said that. But he said, it looks like a horsetail. I was like, you know what? You're right. Yeah. You should have seen it swinging as he's running in.
It was like a sail. I'm surprised he could even run. It was like pulling him left, hanging to the side of him when he's running. But, no, that was an awesome hunt, man. I'm glad you got him. It means a lot whenever I can take somebody and they kill a bird like that, It means a lot. That's why I tried to set it up for Tom last year, but then it rained on him.
Derek's just glad you let him shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a tag, so I couldn't really do it. It's like,
he typically takes me to the 2-year-old spot.
Yeah, I do. I will not lie.
Hey, I have no shame in a 2-year-old.
Well, it's one of them things where I say, guys will be, they'll come out with me and we'll have a bad morning or something, and they're like, man, I was kind of down. I thought you was a professor, and then I get the feedback from this guy, feedback professor guy, I'm like, well, that just means that you're really my good friend, and they go, why? I said, because I ain't taking my good friends to the good spots. Shoot, man. Y'all don't tip very well, Hell, the old lady, it took her like 6 years before I took her to a good spot. Then what do? Bam, bam, we double on opening morning. She goes, I finally earned the good spot, I'm like, well, it happens. But it's been a great year, man. I'm glad I get to experience this. Glad I got to be a part of the team, and that's what it's all about, is camaraderie and doing this stuff together and hanging out. Feeding on each other, like you said, Tom. It's like if you just did this by yourself, there's no way I could get up. You're not getting any sleep. You're getting up there early. You're going out there grinding it, especially in the rough days when they're not talking a whole lot.
Right.
If you didn't have guys feeding off of, other guys in other states killing, keep you motivated to go at it, it would get tough. It would get real tough. So
Yep. And you got a long way to go still.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do.
1 week down. For us, we just got 2 weeks left. Tom's got like 2 months. You know? He's like, I'll still be killing them when there's snowing again.
It was funny last year when I was talking about the upstate New York hunt. I never in my life thought I would kill one that late. I killed it on May 31st last year.
May 31st.
Goodness. Wow.
Like, I think their season ran to June 1st. I think I'm getting that exactly right, but give or take a day. Like, I killed, I was like, I didn't even know you could kill turkeys this late in the year. But upstate New York, you can go till, again, I don't remember exactly. I think it's June. I don't know that it says June 1st. I hadn't looked at the calendar this year, so I don't remember if they do the same thing every year. But I was like, this is crazy. It might be just that last Sunday of the month, I think.
Of May.
But I just know it runs late. And I was like, I never in the world thought I'd do this.
See, that's a long turkey season because you're hunting. When does Florida open? The first week in March?
The area that we hunt Florida in is north of Tampa. And so it's part of, there's a highway that kind of dissects the peninsula in Florida. And I want to say it's State Highway 70, I believe is what they call it. And anything south of that is the 1st of March. And the zone that we hunt is, there's not an exact date, but it's that Monday that's in the middle of the month. So sometimes it's like March 18th, sometimes it's like March 15th, 16th. So it's in that same time frame. So that's the zone we kick off in.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that's kind enough to let us kind of hunt his facilities is we kind of return the favor. We let him sell his opening weekend, and so they're able to kind of bring some hunters in and get their season off to a good start. And then we usually come in that Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's when I start every year. And that's a nice trip to do it on because we enjoy getting to visit with John and Gina, and we spend some time, just visiting with their family and friends. And that's a nice way to kick off turkey season. So I'm okay. As bad as I want to get started every year, I've kind of made peace with, this is a good way to start it with family and friends down here. And I've been going for it. It's usually about a 2-month season for me.
Right.
Because then I've got the Memphis May World Barbecue Cooking Championships that always kind of, this year I'm not going to try, I'm just not going to hunt after it because I missed out on some fishing. So I got to start fishing after that. But it's okay. It's a busy spring for me.
Yeah.
I get a little work done.
Right. Now, you're in Mexico last year, right? You got your World Slam last year. Is that right?
I did the Royal last year. So I was really fortunate in the context of all that. So I killed birds. The previous year I wanted to kill birds in 2 states or 10 states in one season. Last year I wanted to kill a Royal Slam. And so
the Royal's the oscillated?
That's with the Goulds.
That's the Goulds, okay.
Yep. And the Goulds, I think, from a pure, as we see turkeys, as we see Easterns and Rios and Merriams here in the United States, I think of the birds that have that look, the Goulds is the prettiest.
Yeah.
That big, wide, it's like ivory band on the colors. Really pretty birds. A lot of people like the look of the oscillated, but I think it looks, the coloration
peacocky.
Very peacocky is where I was going with that. Absolutely. So it doesn't have the traditional look. It's a pretty bird. It just doesn't have what we view as the traditional turkey look. But anyway, I can do Florida. I'm able to kill. I got really fortunate to kill 2 down there. And I'm, Easterns. I hunt enough states that have Easterns. I was able to get a couple of those. Then I killed 3 in Texas. So then I go down to El Halcon Lodge and Outfitters. It's Manuel Enrique. A lot of people from NWTF know him. And so I kind of asked around, and you feel really safe. It's a really great experience. It's kind of like the old Mexico experience. You go into the Sierra Madre Mountains, and I was fortunate enough to kill 2 down there. And the bad thing about coming up with these goals is as you get further along, you start checking the boxes. Because I had no intentions of doing a double Royal last year. That was not the goal because it's hard enough to kill a turkey. But I start looking, and I'm like, 2 Osceolas. I got my Easterns. Got 3 Rios, got 2 Goulds. All of a sudden, I'm like hyperventilating. I'm like, this Wyoming, South Dakota deal. So I was nervous wreck going to Wyoming. I'm like, now I feel the pressure to actually kill 2 Merriams. And the place I go has birds, but the terrain is really difficult. You're kind of on a calendar because I had driven that the year before, and it was like 24 hours, and that's just a brutal road trip by yourself. So I decided to fly. So once you fly, you kind of lock yourself into like when you're going to be able to be there, and when you have to leave, and so I could feel the pressure. And like the first day, like I missed.
Man.
Yeah. So then the pressure really starts to build. You're like, things worked out where I had like 2 and 2 and 2, and I was going to be able to do the double royal. And the next morning, though, it just was one of those things. You get real fortunate. Like we set up next to some birds that were right to our left, and it's one of those weird turkey things. They're gobbling, and they're there all morning. We can't get them to budge, and it's like 8:30, and we've been sitting there a couple of hours. And the guy I'm sitting with just asked me to hit my box call just because it sounded different than his, and I hit it in about 3 good yelps. And it's like 500 yards away the other direction. This bird loses his mind.
Yeah.
And finally he just elbows me. He's like, and you can see the turkey running over the hills to get to us. And I'm like, what? Goodness. So we killed him, and then we had gone over. He's got a friend in South Dakota that's got some property. It's like a little river that runs through the back of his property. And it's near Belfouche, so it takes about 45 minutes to get there. But after thinking that I wasn't going to kill anything, I had filled my South Dakota and my Wyoming tags like the next day before lunch, pretty much.
Wow. So
that was a neat experience. I don't know that I'm equipped emotionally to put myself in that kind of pinch again, because the irrational obsession that I have with turkey hunting, it really is. You start checking all the boxes as you go through your season. You're like, yeah, I'm going to get there. And then when you get to like the last check mark, the internal pressure is like suffocating. You're like, oh my gosh.
No, I haven't been anywhere other than Missouri and Illinois. Have you been anywhere else?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Never killed anywhere else. But there's always next year.
Right.
We were talking before we started, so we're going to make some trips.
Yeah,
we kicked around an idea on a couple of states. We need to plan that and do it. We'll take me and the professor will go try and do some damage in another state.
Oh yeah,
let's see if
then some other states out here.
Right. Yeah, see if Pennsylvania and Wyoming and all these other states can handle the professor here.
Oh, that's the good thing about his style of hunting that I think plays well, like consistently across all the platforms.
Yeah,
like if you just want to shoot them,
you're going to do whatever it takes.
If you have to hike, I was telling y'all, like Wednesday of this week, I walked 9 miles turkey hunting because they weren't gobbling. We'd go crest hills, glass, walk some more. Because if they're not gobbling, that's really
limited.
Unless you know exactly where they're going to feed.
Yeah.
I have like a day and a half to figure out what they're doing up there. So it's hard to really put your eggs in that one basket where I'm just going to go sit here. And the clock ticking, man, you got to do something. You got to walk. You got to make it happen. And so when you really want to be successful on those hunts, and that's kind of how Joe and I had tick.
Oh, yeah. I'm not eating tag soup.
No, that just ain't my thing.
You're gonna have to drag me in that truck to get me to go home.
Yes,
if it ain't tagged, it's gonna. I want another day.
Yes. That's. I mentioned it earlier. That's still John and Gina still laugh about that because they had taken us to a place where they'd had some success in the past, and like we're 3 days into it, and John's like filming for the episode, and he's got a camera guy down there with me. And the camera guy's filming me, and I'm texting. I got my BlackBerry out at this point. And I'm like banging away on the phone, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm telling them I'm not coming to the airport." And he's like, "I thought we had to get out of here." Don't you move.
We ain't going anywhere.
So we got out of the woods. I called John. I'm like, I'm not leaving Florida until we kill this turkey. I need this Osceola because that's the only way I can kill the Grand Slam this year.
Yeah.
So he made some calls to some buddies. He's like, I think I got a place we can get you. So they get me, and I ended up having to hunt 2 or 3 days there. And it was that phase that the turkeys are in where they'll gobble on the roost, and Osceolas don't gobble a lot as it is.
Yeah.
But they were in that phase where they had already broken up, so there weren't any flocks. Everything's kind of traveling solo, maybe pairs of some 2-year-old gobblers would be about it, and they're just walking. I mean, so you would almost literally have to like sit there with your gun on your knee and just wait. You
Yeah.
go to food sources, and invariably, like the first few days, I'd sit on a food source and he'd come in behind me, peck me in the back of the head almost, or he would come in at 200 yards, and so it just wouldn't work out. And so that's why I say Joe would be successful in any state he went to, because he would do the same thing, be like, I'm not leaving your state until I have killed one of your turkeys.
I'm going to figure him out. Give me one more day.
Exactly. I can do this.
Well, that's good, man. I love turkey hunting. I haven't gotten into it except for the last, really seriously, 4 years now.
Yeah. I still
I love
haven't. Yeah, I haven't committed this much time to it until like recently, like the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just worked out the way that the work has become pretty seasonal for what I do, because like under my responsibilities, it's a lot of the trade shows and a lot of things like that I'll have to be present at. And so after we go through like the shots and the ATAs, I'm really buried then. But there's a lot of that goes on during the summer too. And I've got some training that I have to go to. So there's another stretch during the summer where I'll be gone away from home for like 8 weekends in a row.
Yeah.
And so they kind of tolerate me, like, taking a little time to be on the road. And like I said, since I'm a remote anyway, I'm not like in the office. Like, I'm a remote when I'm at home, so it doesn't matter if I'm in your living room or my living room.
Right.
When I'm having to get something done. So it works out, and it's become an unhealthy obsession to some degree.
Well, we love it, man. We love that you come in.
Well, I appreciate the invites, the hospitality. Something I do want to mention before we go away, because you came to it last year. I do want to mention a couple of weeks ago you had my good friend Randy Birdsong in here.
Yes.
I do want to mention the St. Jude 3D archery shoot that they do over in Poplar Bluff. It's usually the second weekend in August. So, if you're listening and you get the opportunity to come over to it, it is a magnificent event. Some of the guys from the break were able to attend last year, and we tried to bring in a few of our TV shows, from Browning Trail Cameras. So Don and Candy from Whitetail Freaks were there. Obviously, Randy and Nate Hosey were there from Headhunters. John and Gina came from Addicted to the Outdoors. A
lot of the Trained Assassin guys.
Yeah, I was going to say Craig Fitz and some of his guys from Trained Assassins were there. I think ultimately...
Some Drury guys were there.
Yeah, I think
was Brandon there? Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, Brandon was there. I think it was like 8 shows were represented.
Yeah.
So it's a nice VIP event that we do, like in the Coliseum there. And so ultimately, the St. Jude Heroes of Poplar Bluff they were able to donate over $100,000 to St. Jude last year.
Yep,
that's awesome.
So it's a really neat event the way that they manage that and run it. It's so well put together. So before we got away, I just wanted to mention that. Like, if you get a chance, you can go on Facebook and find. I won't have the name exactly right, but it's the St. Jude Heroes of Poplar Bluff. That's a 3D archery shoot. Second weekend in August. Lots of TV people there. There's a nice VIP dinner on Friday night. That will sell out. There's no question. Yeah. And we're already in the biggest facility in Poplar Bluff, I believe. So I don't know that there's room to grow the ticket sales for that. But the Saturday 3D archery shoot, it's a really nice 3D archery course. Treating it kind of like a little bit of a picnic this year. We'll have more games for you to bring the wife and kids out, or whoever else wants to come out and kind of visit and mingle and raise a little money for charity there.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great event. I had a blast there last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I wanted to just mention that before we got out of here, because
I think Randy's going to come in again before that event.
Yeah, I think.
And if you're in town, you come in too.
Oh, you want me and Randy in here at the same time?
Yeah, then I don't have to talk at all.
Exactly. You guys. You can take a nap.
Yeah.
It's funny. The first time, I don't even remember where it was, but I'm a West Tennessee boy, and we'd all grown, like the town that I grew up in was really, they grew a lot of cotton and soybeans when I was a kid, and my dad grew up in a rural community in West Tennessee, and it's not that far from the southern part of Missouri. It's kind of like we all kind of chew the same dirt a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I forget where somebody had told me several times. They're like, "Oh man, you ever meet Randy? You two will hit it off for sure." And it was like we were like automatically connected right out of the gate. I was like, "Oh, this boy's from my neck of the woods.
Yeah,
we speak the same language, man."
Exactly.
So we're over there talking like two country boys would from this part of the world, and everybody's like looking at us like, what is wrong with these guys? Like, I think they're making up words over there. But I love Rainey to death, so I'm glad I've gotten to know him. And yeah, if we come in here, we can just you can take a break. Go down the
that's
hall.
right. Yeah,
Get some paperwork done.
that's right.
Right.
Start editing.
Come back, check on us a little later.
Yeah. Work on the show, and you guys handle this.
Right.
Yep. All right, you want to plug anything with Browning Trail Cameras? All the new stuff you got coming out, or is it still top secret for next year?
Nothing really. Well, what I'll do, I can tell you a little bit about what we've just recently introduced to kick off 2018, without getting into too much of the techie issues. In the sense that you can look up like the trigger speeds and things like that.
Yep.
But the things that are like really cool, we do have a dual lens technology this year. We've taken our Strike Force cameras and our Dark Ops cameras, which have been our two most popular cameras over the last few years. Basically, we have made two cameras in one. Each one of those models, the dual lens, it's the Strike Ops Pro XD or the Dark Ops Pro XD. You have a camera lens that is dedicated specifically to daytime images and videos. And there's a sensor connected strictly to that lens. And there's also a lens dedicated to your nighttime images. So it's tuned specifically for lighted images and tuned specifically for low light conditions. So you're going to get better images. Your quality is really going to be off the charts. Again, that's in a black flash and your standard infrared. Those cameras are really neat for people this year. So I like that technology, being able to really fine tune the quality images and videos we're able to deliver.
Yep.
We do have. We've taken the other cameras that have been in the line and just kind of added a little more horsepower to those. The Spec Ops models, like the new Spec Ops Advantage, the Recon Force Advantage, those have historically been what we call our standard size camera, but they still only require 8 AA batteries.
Yeah.
They shoot the really high-end 1080p video. And we've seen over the last few years, more people have started to use the video strategically. Mm-hmm. Because that was one of the concerns when we really developed that technology is people don't want to leave it on video all the time because you're just burning batteries. But one of the things we tell people, like when we started trying to really introduce the technology is, let's say it's leading up to the rut where traditionally maybe, wherever your home state is, that maybe the rut starts to come in the first part of December every year. Maybe right after Thanksgiving you put everything on video.
Yeah.
And then as you're able to check those, you see how the deer are interacting. You don't just have images of a deer. You don't have a nice buck and 3 does in the field. You see how they're interacting with each other. So we encourage people to use that video technology strategically. Heck, you could use it for a lot of different purposes. But that's usually the best example that I can throw out there, where even if you just did that once a year, it really helps you analyze how and when you can really maybe even take a few extra days off during the rut to be out there when it's all going on.
Yep.
We do have, and this is no longer a secret, a 4K camera that will be coming out in June.
Yep.
So there's a lot of excitement about that. We did not. I say we. I'll say me. I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I was a little surprised at how excited a lot of people were about the 4K technology. Mm-hmm. I knew we had put a lot of effort into convincing people that the video technology was useful. But when we announced that the 4K would be in the marketplace in June, there was a lot of feedback. A lot of people were like, "Ooh, that's pretty neat." And so we're looking forward to that being released.
Well, that should help out when you want to zoom into your pictures, right?
Oh yeah,
you pull
absolutely.
You pull them up in your computer, and then you want to zoom in on them. They're not going to get as blurry as they would say on
exactly
they do now.
Exactly. Like if you're in that 4K mode and you're really trying to see something, so a deer will trigger it in the right in front of the camera, 15 yards, but it's in a cornfield and there's deer everywhere. There might be a deer out there at 115 yards. You're like, ooh, I need to get a better look at that dude.
Yeah.
So that 4K can really come in handy with that because you're not interpolating any of the pixels or anything.
Right.
So
right. That's going to be awesome.
And I can't. Those are the things that the dual lens technologies, the 4K technologies. Those are the things that most people have seemed really excited about this year, and the fact that we've added a little more horsepower to the products that were already in the line has been really appealing to some of the people. Anytime you hear Strike Force with us, those things fly off the shelves as fast as we can make them.
Yep.
So, and the Dark Ops is that to some degree. It's the black flash camera.
Uh-huh.
It's been interesting how the market has played out. I think that what we see is it's geography, or I go to Wisconsin for Deer Fest, and you attend that with us every year. It's usually the first weekend in August, and you talk to a lot of people up there, and you've got to have no glow.
Right.
I got to have no glow. I need invisible flash. And then you go, just one state down. You usually just bounce down to Iowa, and they're like, I just use the low glow infrared. So I think that you get in your social circles and you convince one another that this is more effective than the other. For me personally, we have a county road that dissects my farm at home. So I don't know if I'll talk myself into it or not, but I think they see brake lights and cell towers. They see red lights all the time. So they seem to be relatively immune to anything that's got that low red glow.
Yeah.
Our deer don't seem to be bothered by it, really.
Uh-huh. I use both. I put my infrareds on the corner of fields to get a longer range where their heads are down. They're not looking at it at the camera. And I'll put all the black flashes over scrapes or trails where they're walking directly into it. So, I use more infrared strike forces than I do dark ops.
And I've got, and I'll probably have it reposted here pretty soon because we've done it like once a year the last couple of years. About 2 or 3 years ago, I invested some time, and I documented the sourcing, so I'm giving NASA the reference. I took some of the information about how nanometers work and how what windows you can see the human eye detects colors and things like that, and I explained the different flashes in pretty great depth, actually, so that people would have a better understanding on why a standard infrared image actually is a little better as opposed to a black flash image. And it's not that it's a bad image, but you're talking 850 nanometers versus 940 nanometers. So you start getting into some science, and it can get confusing. But I really broke it down in the sense that you can just read it and not have to be a rocket scientist to understand why I would use this flash over this flash over this flash.
Yeah.
So I'll probably have that reposted to our website here in a couple of weeks.
So that answers the question of why they call this the Strike Force 850 and the Dark Ops 940.
Exactly.
The nanometer.
Yep, you're measuring those wavelengths. Yep. One of the reasons, when you're talking about the bulbs, for example, and I kind of explained it in the article, like the 850. So you're talking about the Strike Force. That's your standard infrared. It's because you see that red because it's closer to the spectrum that we can actually see as humans. And when you get out to 940, you're further away from the spectrum that is visible, so that you don't see the red anymore because you're getting further away from the window that we can see. And I will be, somebody will correct me, I'm 100% guessing these numbers because I don't have them in front of me. But like humans are like, I'm going to say like 350 to 700. I know that's not right. As I sit here and say those, I know it's not right, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Right.
Like we can see and make out colors between like 350 and 700 on that nanometer scale. And as you get further away from it, that's when you don't see the flash. Now it's invisible, but it's still sending the wavelengths. And so that's how the imagery actually works, because it's still being sent and transmitted. It's just we can't see it and things like that. Gets a little sciencey for me.
Way over my head.
Yeah,
I just need deer pictures.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just give me a camera, Tom.
Yeah, true. Exactly.
Give me a camera and tell me where to put it.
Exactly. But it was, because people always would ask, and so I tried to write that in layman's terms when I really took that information and put it out there. So that's a resource for somebody if they're interested in that. And like I said, I'll run it through the blog again, probably here in a couple of weeks, so everybody can go and kind of reference that leading up to their purchasing season.
Yep. Well, good deal. All right, well, we've been going at it for an hour and 17 minutes.
Oh, man.
Flew by, didn't it? You guys were scared we couldn't talk for 20 minutes.
Yeah, he goes, we go, me and Tom are going, what are we going to talk about? Oh, we're just going to wing it. I'm like, that's a great idea, Derek.
Right. Yeah, we're sitting there eating breakfast this morning, and Joe's like, all right, Derek, how are we going to do? We're going to have some structure to this. And Derek's like, we're just kind of going to go wing it. And I'm like, you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
You might want to put some guardrails on this road here. Yeah. You might want to keep us between the ditches.
Where's the bumpers? Just give me the bumpers. This? No, yes.
I'm just surprised that I didn't have to stamp a parental advisory label to this podcast.
We watched
knowing
her
the
mouth.
Professor's going to be in here.
All right, I calmed it down a little bit.
I think we stayed on him enough the last 2 days. He was prepared. He's like, well, focus.
Yep.
All right, well, we're going to wrap it up. Tom Rainey, Browning Trail Cameras, appreciate everything you do for us.
Yep,
You're our title partner, and we certainly couldn't do this without you.
No, I'm glad to be a partner. And everybody in our group is real happy with the relationship that we've got with you guys, because y'all go above and beyond, and that's part of the deal. We were talking about it last night a little bit. When you're looking to spend some dollars, from an advertising perspective, it's sometimes some people make it a little scientific, and the reality is with us, there's a little more art to it. We want to partner with people that are good partners. We want to partner with people that are just good people. And so y'all kind of check all those boxes, and y'all are willing to help us, because at the end of the day, from our perspective, if we're looking to spend some advertising dollars and partner with people, we want people to understand that we're still trying to move cameras, and you guys get that, and that y'all help us at trade shows, and y'all do what we need to do, and then you're also just good partners outside of that. So it's a great relationship for us too.
Well, good. Well, we're excited about it. And Joe, I'm glad I can teach you everything I know about turkey hunting, and you've turned into a good turkey hunter here in the last few years.
Well, thank you, Derek.
I've been going with you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. I work real hard.
Wait a minute, I do want to go back to that second, because when he was talking about the fans earlier, and he was like, I've been using that for like a long time, and I was sitting over here thinking, you know what that means, Joe? If you've been using it for a long time, you're getting older.
Yeah, I heard that. I hear that, and I didn't sell my product. I didn't get my idea out there. So I'm not the rich one. I just used it for a long time. Still doesn't mean anything. Still the same broke guy,
Right? He still got like the same tail he had like 9 years ago, and it's like 9 penny nails folded over a 2x4.
Yep, about right. Same old greasy diesel.
Exactly.
All right, we're shutting it down. This is the Break Podcast. Thank y'all for listening. This is Derek Dirnberger, and you're listening to the Break Podcast.